Hi everyone. So if you're tuning in today, you likely just listened to today's Be Moment about you being born for such a time as this. And you know where I am. I'm at my kitchen table. This is where I do my morning devotion and I welcome you in each week. And look, we're on day 40 something now. So where else am I going to be but at my kitchen table? But I'm glad to have you in and I'm glad you tuned in after today's message. You know, like I said in today's message, I don't believe anything happens by chance, right? And we talk about, but God knew 2020 was going to be like this. I would take it a step further and say in the 60s, even before that, he knew that this pandemic was going to happen. We are born for such a time as this. Now let's ask ourselves why. And once we get the slightest inkling from God, what he's calling us to do, let us not shy away from that. And he's put things on my heart before too to do. And three things have kind of like gotten in my way and held me back. The first one is what commonly holds most of us back is fear, right? I mentioned that this is my book, Blues to Blessings. I wrote book number 1. Now I need to do book number 2, but I'm actually frightened to death because I want book number 2 to be better than book number 1. And so it's something that I have to do, but I continuously put it off. That's being paralyzed by fear versus stepping out in faith. I have to know that if God is calling me to do it, just detach from the outcome. The same God that was here with me with book number 1 will be with me with book number 2. So the first is don't become paralyzed by fear. The second is and sometimes I really mess this one up, using our time wisely or constructively. I talked about that a few days ago and how David is a good example of someone who used his time wisely. In the beginning, I was glued to the television trying to get as much information as I possibly could about this pandemic. I was watching that ticker in the corner of the screen with all the cases and the deaths. But if you're not careful, 40 something days later, you could still be glued to that television and not using your time constructively. Third and final point that would hold me back is sometimes if I know that God wanted me to do something, I would be overwhelmed about trying to make it perfect. It would just seem overwhelming to me. And so what I've learned to do is take small steps in the process. And one example of that is once I wanted to lose a little weight and I was trying to get to the gym and eat a little differently. And every week I'd make these promises to myself and then I wouldn't keep them. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to do something really, really, really small. I'm going to start with just drinking a glass of water every morning. 8 ounces of water, that's my commitment. That's all I can commit to right now with my health regimen. So I'm going to do that. So come down here, do my morning worship, get my glass of water. I'm telling you, once I was consistently able to keep my word to myself and just taking a small step with a small decision like that, I was then able to get more on a workout routine. It really did work. Sometimes we don't have to take a quantum leap. It's just a small pivot will get us on the right path. So I'm glad you tuned in today. If this helped you in any way, leave me a little comment there, share a little love. But the real question though, guys, is you were born for such a time as this. Now let's get about the business of fulfilling what God has called us to do. Love you guys. Take care. Stay home and stay safe. See you next week. Bye-bye.